everybody. Once again, I am Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zorvalchan Less Than Guru, and today I'm doing an update. I'll just call it an update instead of bi-weekly. I was trying to do them every other week, but sometimes I didn't have a lot of games. Games got canceled, real life happened, and therefore I wasn't able to do it every other week. And then I posted one last week, and I'm posting one this week because I had a lot of games. Mars is down here. He'll probably jump up soon because he's attacking my hands. But having said that, I wanted to do an update. A few, at least to me, interesting things have happened since the last week. So we did Torg on Wednesdays through Roll Hit Die, so you can check out that channel. I think that was posted either yesterday or today of our last session of that. We are heading, we finished the Cyber Papal Act, which was basically a whole section. Here's Mars. We did a whole session of basically the big fight at the end of that act, and it was tough. It was very, very, I don't want to use the word scary because it wasn't an Orosh or Tharkol, but it was very nail biting. I'll use that term. We came really close to getting wiped. My character and another character were defeated in the Godnet, so got kicked out, and we were basically one action away from being a TPK of all of our characters being knocked out of the Godnet. Basically, because if we got initiative, our group, the party got initiative, and Torg, the heroes go first, and then the villains, or the villains go first and the heroes. There's no individual initiative. It is once your side or the other side, and you can figure out who acts first or not, what order you go in, basically. But having said that, we acted first, and then the villains got a flurry, which means they all get to do something, and then they all get to do a whole new thing of something. So they could have all attacked and then all attacked again, and the way people were hurt, we would have lost if it had gone down to that. We were basically running out of possibilities, out of cards. There were 2 or 3 rounds where I had nothing like that, except for maybe a couple of possibilities, and then 3 of us, at least 2. I can absolutely say 2. I think 3 of us were disconnected at the same time, therefore we could not soak damage, so we were taking any damage that we got, and that just wiped us. We had the drama deck was going bad against us. You can all watch that, but those are types of situations that I really enjoy. As I've stated before, with a Pathfinder session, that was where a boogeyman basically did kind of that thing, an instant you're out of this area, and things like that. If they make sense, I enjoy it. If I'm not sure why, then there's kind of a little iffy feeling, or if I feel like we're being railroaded or something like that, that's one thing. But if it's a situation we got ourselves into, which in both of those we got ourselves into, or at least party members did, and then we made bad decisions, or incorrect, I'll say that. We made incorrect decisions, and the odds of the deck were stacked against us at that point. If we would have had different tactics, then we probably would have done a lot better in that Torg session. We didn't. We kind of did what we always did, and that doesn't always lead to good results, and I appreciated that. I like those types of situations. So that's what happened in Torg. Orosh, as I mentioned last time, it did drop, so I'll be doing Orosh for Torg Tuesdays tomorrow. The Torg Retreat, which I was hoping would be the other PDF that dropped, did not. From what the email to backers stated, it sounds like they took Torg Retreat, Core Earth, and they're going to maybe get some new stuff and combine it all into one PDF. So if that happens, that happens. I was really excited to talk about the Torg Retreat, but that will have to be later. But I'll do the actual Torg Eternity Orosh review tomorrow. So I'll post that both in Torg Tuesdays and my Torg Eternity reviews, because I haven't done it because it hadn't came out yet. So that's Torg. So then after that, I was a player in a Beyond the Supernatural second edition game. And that was a lot of fun. I have not played Beyond the Supernatural second edition since probably a little before 2010. I remember I was doing what I considered an interesting dual campaign of a BTS 2 that was kind of modern time, so we're talking 2008, 2009 at that time, modern, and then a Future Rifts campaign, and I alternated them. So one session we would do BTS 2, and the next one we would do Rifts, and there was two psychic characters that I had that mentally could connect with each other, and they could see things from the past or future, depending on which one they were. And it was something that was interested. It did fall apart though, just because ooh looked shiny, and I got distracted by a different game and kind of put that on hold, and we never went back to it, which sometimes happens. But I hadn't played it in a long time, and I'd forgotten some of the cool little nuances of the game. Like they have they defined it a lot better, in my opinion, than the original Beyond the Supernatural. I did like the original Beyond the Supernatural, but they got more into the why we as a modern society are skeptical of the supernatural, and why tests fail whenever you have the James Randi Educational Foundation, when they post the $1 million for anybody who can prove paranormal, supernatural activity, psychic powers, anything like that. Why has no one won that? Why hasn't it been filmed? And they kind of go into that, which is really interesting. Why we did that is because me, along separately, completely separate, not anybody that ever has been in any group I've ever been in, myself and two other people were looking on the Foundry virtual tabletop on how to bring a Palladium system into it. I have Palladium on Roll20. If you watch my Palladium, the Nintir Veil Palladium homebrew that I do, that's through Roll20, but I do want to shift, and there might be a time when I actually do a review on why I am doing that shift, what I liked about Roll20, what I like about Foundry, but I want to move that over. And so far, there has not been any Palladium system built into it, and it's something that I would need flexibility for, because I'm doing first edition, which is very different than any other of the Palladium Megaversal, and another person wanted one for Beyond the Supernatural 2, or After the Bomb is what he likes, and another person likes Rifts. So we wanted to get kind of a Megaversal outline kind of framework to do, and there is a Foundry system that you can download, GRPGA, generic RPG add-on. It's not an add-on; it's a system. Aid. So generic RPG Aid, and there's like 7 different systems that the developer of that is working on. One's a Versus the Darkness. One is that he completely just started. Won't say completely from the ground up. Took a D20 sheet system and started adding on stuff to make it into a Palladium system. So there's a D20, there's a D120, because is what he calls the Palladium, because Palladium uses both D20s and 100s. There's like a GURPS type thing. There's a Rollmaster type thing. I think he said there's like 7 different systems going on in the background. And when a few of us at kind of the same time were like, hey, anybody doing Palladium? And hearing crickets. Hey, anybody doing Palladium? Like a month later, crickets. He's like, what's Palladium? What is it? And I can get it done for you. So over the last few weeks, we've been talking with him, and then it was kind of a decision of, hey, maybe you need to play the game and kind of see all these weird, quirky things. Because a lot of people hate Palladium because of all the weird, quirky things, and some people really like it because of all the weird, quirky things, and some people are like me. There's nostalgia that goes along with it, but I have realized it's not only nostalgia. There is something in there that I really am drawn to. And even though you could theoretically turn the D20s into percentile or the percentiles into D20 rolls, I do like that difference between combat and and I've talked about this, and the other skills, which I would absolutely hate in any other system, but it works in Palladium, in my opinion. And I house rule it so much, and as you know, I'm reworking the first edition rules even. So we wanted a lot of ways that you could fit all of these things. You could go BTS, you could go Rifts, you could go After the Bomb, you could go Palladium Fantasy Second Edition, you could go Palladium First Edition, you could do home rule stuff and that. So one of the people graciously offered to game master us through a BTS 2 game, so the developer could then see how that works, and we did part of it on Wednesday, and then we finished it up on Saturday, and then he joined us yesterday, Sunday, for my as a guest for my, and you'll see him if you watch the Palladium Nintir Veil once I post that. Went along as a kind of a guest character, if you want to say that, so he could see how there's similarities in the different Palladium systems, but how there's differences, especially between this game here, Palladium First Edition, and all the other rules. How they're the same terminology, but how there's differences, how I am doing a rewrite of it, so kind of that. And hopefully within the next couple of sessions, we'll be able to take the characters and move them over. There's basically a few things I'm doing. I'm getting enough of the system rewritten in a way that I want it, and I'm going to allow the players to either update their characters or bring in brand new characters with that new kind of rework of the system. At the same time, I want to move it to Foundry, so however long it takes them to get to that spot where it's like, okay, now we're switching to the new system. So I have to build it in Foundry, or not build it, but I have to tinker with it, I'll say that, tweak it in the Foundry to get it to work for me. I gotta get as much of the rewrite of the system as I feel that's needed. We need in story to get back to the town of Winterhaven. So when all of that kind of magically combines, then we'll do all that, and you'll see how that works on when I post the Palladium playthroughs. So that was kind of what we were doing with the background of the Foundry virtual tabletop, which is really cool. Friday, we did our every other Friday Earth Dawn 4th edition, another really good, solid game. We were in a maze. We got through about half of it the previous session. We kind of worked on our strategy and tactics and how we were doing things, because we kept hitting a similar situation each time, slightly varied. But we were able to then carry on and make a decision at the end and get through that. We went back to Haven. We had a choice: do we want to continue or do we want to go back? We decided to go back to Haven. We don't want to go to Parlaith. We're just in Haven because that's the closest town around. And the dagger that I broke the bond, we're using a house rule of there's no unweaving of threads, but I, as a weaponsmith working with a magical forge, can break a thread that is connected to you, mystically, magically, however you want to say that. And I broke a cursed item to me, and someone was able to get that cursed item. Because again, I made a bad decision. I thought the place that forge was at was inaccessible to others, and I left the dagger there for safekeeping, and it was stolen. And now the dagger is in Haven and killing people, which isn't a good thing. And the last person he killed was a weaponsmith. The dagger hates me because it wanted to control me, and me being a weaponsmith. So therefore, I feel a little bit responsible for that. And so next session we might have a murder mystery. So that will be really fun and different for Lawrence. But I'll say different because in games that I've played within the last few years, haven't had a murder mystery. I've had them in my games in the past, and I've played them in games in the past, but not the recent past, if that makes sense. So that I'm looking very forward to. So that was Friday. Then Saturday, like I said, we finished up that BTS. That was really cool. We had a natural athlete, so all of his stats were super sky high. I played a ghost hunter. I went with a random role profession, became an outdoorsman, like a game hunter type fisherman that was on TV, switched over to kind of a monster hunters TV show, had YouTube videos, things like that. And that was interesting because I limited myself. I could have went full like soldier or SWAT team and been like this SWAT ghost hunter type person, but I went with the outdoorsman who is really good in certain things, but they're not militarily good. They're not good necessarily with handguns because you don't shoot deer and elk and Africa with whatever that type of thing. You don't shoot those with handguns. So that was not a skill of mine, and so there was that type of thing where I wasn't fully shooty person, but I wasn't fully the game hunter because I was the ghost hunter type thing. So hopefully you understand. I won't say that I shortchanged my character. I had a very interesting character concept and had fun. I just wasn't a full combat min-maxed character. I'll say that. And then we had a psychic diviner who gets premonitions and can feel vibes and stuff like that. So that was kind of a cool. We had a 3-person group with a game master, and we went through a modern horror adventure that was quite fun, and I enjoyed it. And then hopefully within the next few days, it usually takes me a while because I do listen to all of my playthroughs now. So if there's that noise, I can at least mark it so you can know when to avoid it if you're wearing earphones or if you have your volume loud, that at those points there is going to be that loud, crazy clicking noise, chirping noise, whatever you want to call it, that I am unable to pinpoint what it is doing. It is not microphones that I'm aware of because I've used 3 different microphones and it's happened. I've used 2 different software programs. I just don't know where it's coming from, and I'm not hearing anything around here. So maybe it is a BTS too, and I have some ghosts in the electronics doing something. But we went further. They were in in Palladium. They were in the Dwarven Fortress, and they were going to take kind of the Dwarven stuff, the loot, and they had an ogre wagon, a wagon that they killed the kobolds and orcs had killed the horses and ate the horses, and ogres were pulling the wagon. So the troll and the bear woman were going to pull the wagon and with the loot and take the loot back to Winterhaven to show the dwarves that we brought all of the loot with us, and that way between the time where the party left and the dwarves went back, somebody wouldn't go in and raid the dwarves, which I thought was a good idea. And there will probably be some good consequences for that. I do look for consequences. If you do some bad stuff, there might be some bad stuff. If you do some good stuff, there might be some good consequences. If you do some strange stuff, it might be depending on the situation. But that was a good idea. I enjoyed that. As I said, we had the guy, the Foundry system developer, as a guest. He played a dwarf that had kind of hidden out in that area, and they were taking him. And so he was able to see how the Palladium First Edition homebrewed rules work. So that was real fun, and you'll be able to watch that. So that's kind of what has been going on in my games, and interesting things, because when you finally, over the weekend, people had been looking at my rule reworks and started pointing out various grammar errors, hitting the wrong 10 key, hit a minus instead of a plus, or a minus and a plus and then a number, and certain things like that, as well as some bad copy pasting or certain things that make sense. Because if you're a writer, you are your worst editor, because when you read your own writing, you understand what you meant to say, and that voice is kind of in your head instead of just reading it. It helps also if you read it out loud, so then your ears hear it and not just your mind hearing it, but having multiple eyes look over it. I've been able to tighten up some stuff with that. So that is good. Again, like I said, tomorrow will be Tour Tuesdays. I'll do the Aurorsch review. And then I might do, if I haven't already, I know I did a BTS2 character, but I might do a review. I'll have to look because it's been a while since I've done any reviews. I don't think I've done BTS2 reviews, but if not, I'll probably do one of those because I played it recently. I'll talk about both the first edition and second edition probably. So, having said that, once again, I am Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zorval Charm Less Than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.